Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to Wellness is Beautiful. I'm Linda. Today, we are going to be talking about canning summer harvest. I wanted to show you all that I've canned so far, and this is just coming from fruits that I got at the farmer's market starting in June. I have done at least, I'm going to say 60 half pint jars. We've got strawberries, we have tomato sauce, we have cherries, we have peaches, blueberries, and a mixture of strawberry with apples, blackberries. So I've had a lot of fun, canning. This is my first year canning. I actually watched my mom can fruit in the summertime years ago. So I guess I kind of have some history with it, but not really paying attention, so I didn't really glean any instructions from her. But from my research, and I'll show you the book, the Ball's Book of Canning, before we sign off, where I got most of my research and information. So today we're actually going to be making pepper jam. These are all colors of bell peppers. We've got red, orange, green, and we also have some hot peppers from my garden. So it's a very, very, very simple procedure. We're gonna take our peppers, which are already chopped up in my fruit processor, or you can chop them by hand, whichever. So I'm going to take these peppers, put them in my pot back here, and I'm going to add 1 cup of vinegar, apple cider vinegar, and 1 pack of pectin. And I'm using the pectin that allows you not to have to use so much sugar. Otherwise, this recipe calls for 9 cups of sugar. And if you know me, I try and use as less sugar as possible. So I'm using the pectin that allows you to draw back on the sugar. So I'm actually going to be adding 3 cups as opposed to 9 cups of sugar. That sugar actually helps it to set, also raise the flavor or the taste of the already sweetness in the berries or the fruits that you're using. So peppers have no sugar in them, so I'm going to add these 3 cups of sugar, and I'm actually using cane sugar. So to explain what we're going to be doing, because sometimes when I get in the heat of it, having a certain amount of time to do one thing to the next thing, I'm going to explain everything that I'm going to be doing. This is called water bath canning. You can water bath can foods that are high in acid. Your fruits are high in acid, so it's okay to water bath can those. I'm using pint-sized jars, or some are half pints. I don't know how much fruit this is going to yield, so I have a number of jars already in my water bath canner, which is being sterilized right now. My jars are being sterilized, my caps are being sterilized, my utensils that I'm going to be using are already sterilized and covered. So like I said, this is a very, very simple procedure. I'm going to go ahead and turn my pot on that I'm going to put my peppers in. And I actually have my measuring cup says this is a little bit over 8 cups of peppers, okay? So as I have them up, I'm gonna go ahead and cover them so they can kind of start simmering. I made this before, not on camera. I made this before, and I probably got about maybe 3 pints and maybe about 3 half pints, and I have 1 in the refrigerator that's left. It went so fast. Very, very tasty. I didn't know what to expect when I made this, but this is a really nice flavor to put on sandwiches, just have kind of on the side. It's kind of like a pepper relish, I would think. So you try this recipe and you'll see all the things that you may want to add it to. If you're a person that likes burgers, sausages, this may be something that you want to add to that and give that extra flavor. Something that you would use in lieu of, say, mayo, mustard, or whatever. So you'll see. I really, really want you to try this, first of all, to see how simple it is. And the reason that we're canning, why do we can? We're canning to preserve. So all these fruits that I use that I've canned so far, these are what we consider what we call our summer harvest. These fruits grow in the summertime. So you want to try and get fruits that are in their season. That's best. So as I said, as soon as the strawberries were in season, the blueberries and all of them were in season, I went and got a load of those and just canned them. That way, throughout the year, fall and winter, I can have fresh fruit that I can, that is safe, and I put it away so that it is safe, you know, to have up until the next year. So I figured, just for me and my husband, this is more than enough to last us, because I'm really not a jam or jelly person, but I find that this is a way to preserve the fruit, and I can dictate how sweet I want them. Some of these, my early ones, my strawberries and my blueberries, I didn't add any sugar at all, and they sat just fine. You know, what I mean by set is that they gelled or jammed like I need them to, and they're not runny. So I find that I can dictate how much sugar, as opposed to buying your jellies or jams in the grocery store, and they're already sweetened with quite a amount of sugar and other additives that they've had to add to give it shelf life in that store. So you'll see how simple this is. I'm going to grab my spatula and start stirring. And once this starts to get to a good simmer, I'm going to add my cup of vinegar. And then I'm going to add my pectin. And I'm only doing 1 box of pectin. And then I'm going to add my sugar, my 3 cups of sugar. Actually, I did 2 3/4, not even quite 3 cups. So I'm going to go ahead and add that. So let's talk about some of the tips that you want to make sure that you're aware of when you're canning. Number 1, as I said, when you're canning, you want to make sure that whatever food you're processing, whatever food you're canning or preserving, you want to determine if it's acid or low acid. If it is low acid, you're going to need what we call a pressure canner, okay? And I haven't started to use that. I do have it. I haven't started to use that yet because I'm going to wait until fall before I start canning things like soups, meats, if I decide to do meats, and things like that. Anything that some of your vegetables are required to be done through a pressure canner. So we're preserving so that we can have food put away. Some foods can last up to more than a year. So this is one way of kind of getting ahead of, in case we have some type of issue with the grocery stores not having things in stock. Well, this is one way you can get ahead of that. Go ahead and have your pantry already stocked with things that you have preserved. Canning is just another way of preserving foods and having things put away in case we have whatever can cause an issue for us, like when we were in COVID. And there were times that we didn't feel safe to go outside, or even if we could, the stores were very limited on things that they had. So we've been through something like that before. So this is my way of saying, oh, in the event that this happens again, then I'm going to be somewhat prepared as much as I can prepare with my somewhat limitations. I actually have a small garden in comparison to what a garden is. I have a small garden. I have herbs that I have basil, cilantro, I have, what else, rosemary. I have lots of peppers. Anytime I have a recipe or whatever my cooking for dinner calls for peppers, I run out to my garden and grab those peppers, and they just keep coming and keep coming. I don't know when they're gonna stop. So I have that. I had blackberries at the beginning. They're gone, but I had quite a few of those. I have tomatoes. I had, I think, 2 different varieties of tomatoes. I think they've stopped coming. I may have just a few little of the cherry tomatoes. Have that. I did plant strawberries. They're still, the leaves are still green, still expanding, but I have not seen a berry yet as of yesterday. And it is August, so I don't know what that means. I planted also potatoes, and they're still, the greens are still coming up. And I pulled one up, and they were small. They were really small, so I'm thinking they should be bigger than that, so I just left the rest alone. So I'll see what happens with that. I did a cucumber, but that didn't work out, and I probably pulled it too quick, because I pulled it and it was pretty tiny. So and I only planted just a little bit. This is what I call my test garden, to see what I can grow, what's easy for me, not a lot of hands-on, and I actually have been blessed by the amount of rain we've been getting, so I haven't had to be out there in the garden watering and things like that. Have had to pull some weeds, even though I'm using pots. And I have one large raised bed, and then the rest are in pots. So I'm just kind of testing. Next year, possibly I will do a larger raised bed, maybe 2 or 3. I'll see how brave I am, how courageous I am. So we'll see. But yeah, I would recommend that you just do a little test garden. Even if you just have a balcony, get some pots, some large pots, and just start with some herbs. They're pretty easy. My basil is absolutely out of the world. So I have to go out every day practically and get some herbs. So what I'm gonna do with those, I'm gonna actually kind of blend them up with some avocado oil and freeze them in ice cubes so that I don't lose so much. I actually went out today or yesterday and pulled some. So I'm gonna get about 3 of these jars this size and just put them in there and just fill them up with water, and this helped them to keep them alive on the inside. So I just keep this in my window. So I'll probably do maybe 2 more of these just to keep. But my basil is, I'll have to measure to see how high it is. It is pretty high. And I've planted basil at least 2 or 3 years prior, and it always does very, very well. That and the rosemary does very, very well. In fact, the rosemary comes back. So I don't know if that's how it's supposed to do, but my rosemary actually came back, but I did plant some new rosemary in this new raised bed. So my peppers are simmering now, so I'm gonna go ahead and add my 1 cup of the apple cider vinegar. I'm gonna stir that in. This is a very pretty, colorful jam. I think that if you put them in even the smaller quarter-pint sized jars, they'd be nice gifts for the holiday or birthdays or whatever. So now I'm gonna go ahead and add my 1 cup of pectin. Stir that in. You know, pectin is what helps it to set, helps to give you that jam set or jelly set, whichever one you're doing. I want that to come to a boil. Next thing I'll be adding is my sugar. So let's go over the utensils you will need for canning. First of all, like I said, you're gonna need a canner, and if you're just canning fruit, high acid foods, all you need is that water bath canner. You also need to purchase your jars, your bell jars, curd jars. There's several other types of jars with the lids. You want to keep them in a space where they're staying clean, but even when you're getting ready to use them, like I did for this session, I actually have my jars in the canner where they're being sanitized. My lids are actually in hot water, being sanitized and staying warm. And my utensils are tucked away, have been cleaned. These are your funnels that you're gonna need, and I'll show you how we do that. this is my jar lifter, where I will lift the jars in and out of the pot, out of the canner, because everything is hot, so you'll need that. This is my lid lifter. It has a little magnetic tip on it, so you just dip it in there, take it out, and put it on the jar. This is my, two things this is. This is a debubbler. So once you I get my fruit or my peppers into my jar, I'm gonna push this all the way around the jar to make sure that there are no air bubbles in there. This is also like a measuring. So when you're canning, it will tell you in the instructions how much space you need to leave at the top. With my peppers, I think it's like a quarter. So that first ring there is like a 1/4 inch. This is a 1/2 inch. This is like, I forget what that third one is. So you want to be mindful of that. Another thing that you want to do, as I said, I'm going to go through all this stuff, and you'll see me do it, but I'm going to go through it so you'll know what I'm doing. You're going to also have on the side a cup of vinegar to make sure that you wipe your jar lids to make sure that there's no residue, or even if it's like a crack or something on there, you want to take that off. Otherwise, that could interrupt your seal. The name of the game is to get a good seal to make it safe to store in your shelf, in your pantry. So I'm going to go ahead, add my sugar, because I have it to a boil now. I'm going to stir that. You'll see how much hands-on this is. It's really not a lot. So I'm going to get that stirred, bring that to a boil. And once I do that, so I'm going to go ahead and start taking out my jars. I'm going to clear my space here. Take out my jars that I'm going to need to fill. And as I said, I have pint-sized jars, and I have 1/2 pints, so we'll see. Now when I place these jars back in there with the peppers inside, I need to make sure that my water in my canner covers these jars. And I'm keeping an eye on my peppers over here. They're doing well. Stir them again. So they're actually cooking now, and they're going to cook 10 minutes more once I put them in the canner. And you start your 10-minute count when that water comes to a roaring boil, not a simmer, but a complete boil. Then you start your 10-minute count of how long the pepper should be in the pot canning, actually canning time. Got some 1/2 pints left in here. I know I'm not going to need all of these, but I do extra in the event that later on I find that a jar has cracked or something, and then I have extra. Better to have more and not need it, and to have not enough, and not have it on hand. So I have 3 funnels, and I'm gonna use all of them to keep time going. One little 1/2 pint that don't want to come up. So let's talk about temperature, everything being the same temperature. The reason we want our jars to be hot One little booger don't want to come out. Fell over. There we go. The reason we want everything to be at this somewhat same temperature is, if not, then you can cause that temperature difference, if it's too much of a difference, cause the jars to crack. So, as I said, my lids are in hot water, my jars were in hot water, and my fruit, my peppers are hot. And that's why you want to kind of work in a timely fashion. I'm getting ready to bring my peppers over and funnel them into the jars. This is not one of them. And I'm going to go ahead and turn up my canner because I want it to get to a boil. Okay. Let's bring over the peppers. Now when you're doing fruit, certain ones, like my peppers here, are beginning to have, I'm going to go ahead and turn them off. You may get a foam at the top of it. It's not going to hurt you, but the look of it may not be so pleasant. So you can actually just skim that off. And I have just a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and skim that off. Not much. Not near as much as what some of your fruit will have. Okay. So we're bringing over our peppers, and we're going to get them into the jars. And I need to move this over so you guys can see what I'm doing. There we go. I think you can see that. I'm going to move these out of the way. So all I'm doing is I need my, take this out, and I'm going to start filling. Filling all the way up to a 1/4 inch from the top. So far, pretty simple, right? Pretty simple. I like all the colors. Smells good too. I don't know if I mentioned, I also have some spicy peppers in there, but you govern that. If you want a little spice, you can add some jalapeno, or I have some of my peppers from the garden that were even spicier than the jalapeno. And I found that out this morning from the dinner that I made for today. I made some bison pasta. Ooh, you guys, I don't know if I have enough jars. Even though I did more jars than I thought I would need. Maybe not. We'll see. It may be good. That's why I like using all the funnels, so I don't have to wait. Yeah, we're going to be good with the amount of jars. So I have one over there that's not quite full. And if you end up with a jar that's not quite full enough, then don't can that one. Just place that one in the refrigerator. And it'll still gel up for you. But if it's not all the way at the top, then you won't have a possible good seal. Okay. And at the bottom here. Okay, so that's all of that. So now, I know that's not enough of that, so we're going to pour that in that. That's still not quite full enough. Definitely going to end up with something that's going to go in the fridge. So you want to get as close to that 1/4 inch head space as you can. This door is hot, so handle with caution. Okay, now I'm going to go through and debubble using my debubbler, getting rid of any air bubbles that might be in there all the way around the jar. You can smell the flavor from those peppers already. Imagine that on a sandwich. I'm thinking about using this because tomorrow I'm making chicken salad for the week. I found some good chicken breasts from grocery stores that buys from a local farmer. So I'm going to do some chicken salad tomorrow, and I'm going to add some of this to that. So now I'm going to take my paper towel. This step is very important. Go around the rim, wiping, making sure there's no stickiness, or you're also searching for if there's like any crack or whatever in the top of the jars. That would not be good to can. Okay, now I'm going to use my lid lifter. Take out my lids. Get a lid on all of them. Want to kind of work not super fast, but stay in tune so that everything stays in that temperature, same temperature range. Okay, everyone has a lid. Now we need the rings. So when you're putting the rings on, this off. When you're putting the rings on, you don't want to go tight, but you want to go finger tight. A good idea is to keep all your, if this is something you think that you're going to be doing, if this is a practice that you're going to take on, and I recommend you do, you want to put all your stuff, all your utensils that you need for canning in a particular area so that you know where everything is. That way it doesn't take a long time to get things in place. Order is the name of the game. Order and being organized. Can't beat that. So now they are ready to go inside the canner. I'm going to raise this rack. There should always be a rack in the bottom of your canning pot. That way the jars won't shatter. Always, always. When you get a canner, it should come with it. If not, then you can improvise with a few things, but I say find one. Find a rack. So we're going to place these in. I'm going to put my pints in first. See how nice that looks? Pretty colors, right? So this is actually going to be a quick video compared to some of my others. I just wanted to show you. I knew I had those peppers. I had actually gotten those peppers maybe about 2 weeks ago, and I cut them up and put them in the freezer until I was ready to show you guys on a video. One more. One thing you can also do in your canner, and I'm going to do that right now, is take some vinegar, because after doing this over and over with your jars, you can get a buildup of film on your jars. So to prevent that, you can use a little vinegar in your water. There goes that. Now I'm going to lower my jars, making sure that they are all covered by water, by the water. Okay, we're going to go ahead and turn that all the way up because we want that to come to a roaring boil. And once it comes to a roaring boil, then I start my count of 10 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and turn that off. I'm going to give it another minute, then I will take off the lid. And as I said, I'm going to give it another minute, and I'm going to take them out and put them on my counter here. Very simple. Nothing hard about that, right? Nothing complicated about it. And it's such satisfaction, you guys, such satisfaction to see all those jars in your pantry. I can't tell you how rewarding it is to my mind to see all these things that I've canned. And my husband eats jelly and jam, but I didn't. But now I can have jelly and jam because I know what I put in those jars. I know the type of fruit. I know that it's real fruit. And that just, I'm telling you, give me much pleasure, much pleasure. So I'm looking forward to you guys telling me that you at least made the attempt. Or maybe some of you were canners. You grew up with watching your parents or grandparents or whatever, and maybe this will get you back into it, you know. So this is a video that I hope encourages you to start going back in this direction. Preserving, acting as a community, thinking about more than just yourself. Those are good habits to have, right? First jar out. Yum. Yum, yum, yum. Wait till you taste it. Nothing complicated, right, you guys? Absolutely nothing complicated. And such rewards. There go one pop. Remember I told you about the pops? That means I got a seal. And it could take hours, or it could happen. There go 2 pops. I have had them pop in the canner. But as I said, there are ways that you can tell just by looking at that dimple if it has sunk in. You go 3. One more jar. One more little guy. Isn't he cute? There goes 4. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pints and 2 half pints. And that's it, you guys. Very simple, very simple. Something simple, but so rewarding. Not complicated. It's not going to take much out of you. If this is something you think you want to do, 5. Go ahead and try it. Make an attempt. If you're having questions still, put them in the comment section. I will get to them and respond to them. And that's it, you guys. So you want to let that cool off. I'm not going to be canning anything anytime soon, so I'm going to let that cool off, and later on tonight I will empty that water out because it is boiling hot right now. So I hope that this has been encouraging. I hope that trying to keep an eye on everything over there. I hope that this is something that has pushed you in the direction of being a person that wants to start doing things like this, preserving, thinking about not just today, but tomorrow, what could possibly be. And write in your comments if you did start something and how it comes out. Let me know about that. So thank you guys for watching today. Please share this with other people, especially those who may be interested in something like this. Start a group, in your family. Start a group of canning, women in your church or men, and let me know how that goes. Do something, you guys. I encourage you to start doing something and in that direction of preserving. This is going to save you much, much money. If you start canning most of your things or a lot of your things, a number of your things, you're going to be surprised at how much money you're saving not having to go to the grocery store every time to get those things. So those things that I talked about, making my own condiments, that's going to save us money, okay? So that's why I want to share those things, not just because I'm doing them, but I want you to see how you can save money and save your life possibly by knowing what ingredients you're putting in your body. Be intentional about what you're putting in your body so that you can help your liver, your lungs, your kidneys, all of that. So do one step. Just take one step in that direction, if not today, sometime this week. Today is Wednesday. So as I said, thank you guys for watching. Until the next time, do something to be well. Thank you. See you the next time.